Hello, welcome back to the Superhero Show. Daniel and Gav here.
As always.
I'm sorry we were away for a week. We've returned, and we're going to discuss Jessica Jones because last week or so we've got a couple of teasers.
Very cool.
We've seen her drinking in the bar,
Yeah.
beating people up, and also crushing an alarm clock.
That's so funny, yeah.
And we're going to discuss why I think that's a really important addition to the Marvel Universe. It's coming to Netflix in November. And firstly, I think it's a cool addition because, you know, Captain Americaism, but majority of the characters we've received so far are Stan Lee creations from the 60s.
Yeah.
They are the classic Marvel characters. This is very much, in her modern iteration, you know, a work of Brian Michael Bendis, one of Marvel's recent big creators. And I think that's really cool. The fact that Marvel's like, so far we've really traded on our big old characters.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're happy to embrace some of our more recent creations.
Well, it's a really good idea because everything that we're seeing so far, like when we saw like the Daredevil announcement, there's going to be a Daredevil TV show. Like everyone has their own version of or idea of Daredevil. Everyone has like, you know, their own idea of Punisher. Whereas Jessica Jones, because it's like quite a newish character.
More recent impression,
they can just do whatever they want with it. They can do whatever they want with it and not have to worry about like fanboys going, oh well, Daredevil would never do that. Like if you look at it like Man of Steel when like Superman kills Zod, like the amount of backlash from that because people have this idea inside them of what their Superman is, but to be able to get a completely new character and be like, we can do whatever we want with this.
I think you're right. I think it's kind of a dual-edged sword because the people that are really into Alias, was part of the Marvel Max? Marvel Max imprint. So, you know, there's sex, there's swearing, there's drug use, there's all that sort of stuff.
Oh man, Marvel Max was so good.
Well, arguably it's the imprint that saved that with Marvel Knights as a precursor
that's such a good time to be a comics fan.
But like the people who read that will have a very definite idea because like it's your argument is like I think twofold. Like people who know Jessica Jones know one real impression of her. Yeah. So there's not multiple Jessica Jones like Daredevil. So the people who know that comic know what she's about. Yeah. But I think there's so many people who that's completely new character to them. And you know, on the show before we've talked about how that Marvel has had the big female lead in a movie. We know we're getting a Captain Marvel movie, and we know it'll be Carol Danvers. Yeah, we've had Black Widow, but we've not had really a woman front and center. Yeah. And suddenly we're going to have this. And we said this about Daredevil. With one season, ultimately that character has more screen time than any other Marvel character. We know more about Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock than we do Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. And immediately we're going to have this. You know, Kristen Ritter's Jessica Jones. We're going to know so much about her as a character because we'll have 13 hours worth. I think it's great.
That's a really good idea. Actually, I'd never thought about that because the amount of time and effort that you have to put into watching a TV show over like a movie, like it's crazy. So it's awesome that we've picked like a clock. But then that's probably why they picked a small character because if you did like, you know, if you did like the Tony Stark TV show, then again, that means that character means a lot more to a lot more people sort of thing. Yeah. And you're sort of tied to that a little bit more.
What I think is going to be really interesting for them to navigate in the Jessica Jones TV show is part of the kind of, if you're a Marvel fan, part of the kind of enjoyment and little kick you get from reading Alias is the fact that she gave up being a superhero. She's now a private detective. But part of the kind of kick you get is her occasionally interacting with these big characters.
Definitely, yeah.
So she goes for lunch with her old friend who is Miss Marvel. Yeah. And she'll occasionally meet Captain America. A lot of those characters, I think, obviously not going to make appearances in the TV show. So it's having those kind of... Well, even though I don't think they've said it, we know Luke Cage will be in it because he's obviously a big part of those comics, big part of her life. I'd be astounded if Charlie Cox doesn't turn up as Matt Murdock.
It's crazy if it does.
Because that happens in the comic. Yeah. But whether they can maybe it'd be amazing if there's Easter eggs. If they could get like Chris Evans to have a cameo.
Be amazing.
Which is not beyond the realm of possibility.
Why aren't they doing that more, man?
It must be a contractual thing and a timing thing because suddenly these become big logistical nightmares.
Yeah, of course.
But like in the comic, because it's easy in comics, the artist is just drawing. Yeah. But like it'd be really cool if there's a few of those Easter eggs. Yeah. Because like reading Alias, and I reread it recently. some of the cool stuff is just seeing those characters for a couple of moments and suddenly putting them in this really kind of adult, grounded context.
Yeah.
So hopefully that does happen.
I'm super excited for it. I think, like, as you said, it's amazing to see someone who just... Because kind of where Hancock was gonna go, like, and you have this,
that's a really good comparison,
and you have this like kind of idea where like someone has these special powers, doesn't care about being like a superhero, and I think kind of Jessica Jones can kind of do that, and I think it's a really good excuse to do like funny stuff as well, like be like the teasers they've gone, like her like smashing up the alarm clock. That's funny.
I think Hancock's a great comparison, and really pushing that in a more kind of adult sphere.
Yeah.
Like, I saw like Civil War is exploring more kind of a bit more self-aware, like what does being a superhero mean? You've got this character in the Marvel universe who tries to be a superhero, and it's like not for her. Yeah. Because like everyone else just like takes to it. It's like this is what we do.
Yeah.
And like in the comic, she hated having an outfit. She felt awkward doing it. And there's a great bit early on in Jessica Jones comics where she meets Captain America, who I guess is the person who most belongs being a superhero, because he wasn't comfortable being Steve Rogers before he was Captain America. He's a guy who found it. He was a guy who felt like Captain America before he had those abilities. So he's more happy being that guy.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones was a superhero. It's like, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to wear a superhero outfit. I'm not as good as you.
Yeah.
I'm more flawed. And I think that's a really cool thing for Marvel to start tackling in this like second era, second movement.
There's a really interesting thing that I remember the other day, which is like Marvel started doing these like what if one shots.
Oh yeah,
so,
like this
some of them were terrible. Like some of them were really bad. It was like what if
Silver Surfer was Galactus?
Yeah. What if like
what's that mean?
General Ross had become Incredible Hulk and stuff like that. Like they started doing it. But one of them was like what if Jessica Jones had joined the Avengers? So it was just like what her life would have been like if she'd like gone and stayed with the Avengers and like gone that kind of route rather than gone her own way sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's coming out in November. Really excited about that. I think it's going to be a really meaningful addition to the Marvel universe. But we've got some feedback.
We have, yes. This is from Stephen O'Dowd. The subject, World's Greatest Detective. I wonder who that's about. Hi, Dan and Gav. I would be really interested to see a Batman film that focuses on his detective skills, more of a whodunit than an action movie. And I think Affleck would portray this side of the character really well. What do you think?
Yeah, that's great. Amazing. Because so like when they
TV show as well.
When they made, not like CSI.
Not like CSI.
CSI Gotham.
CSI Gotham.
NCIS Gotham.
How is this not happening?
I remember that thing when they made Dark Knight and they said, oh, in this movie we're going to replay up his detective skills. And there is a bit where he like takes a bit from like a wall that has a bullet in and they analyse it. But it's, unless you're going to really commit to that.
That's more science. Batman's a scientist.
Unless you commit to that as a genre, it's hard to do meaningfully. And like what I quite like about that is if you read Batman the comic, but also if you read detective comics.
Okay.
Detective comics like Black Mirror, they really play up as him as a detective. Okay. It'd be really cool if they go, hey, this is a great thing, part of this character that we've really never tapped into. And they made it more like a crime noir.
Man, if they did that, like...
With Affleck.
Like Gotham Central. Like, imagine having like Gotham Central, but like... I love Gotham Central so much because it's so just boring sometimes, whereas it's like actual cops. And that's what I thought Gotham was going to be.
Gotham should be.
Gotham is not like that at all.
That's what Gotham should be.
Yeah.
And Gotham lacks because Batman's young. It'd be great like Gotham Central if Batman had cameos.
Yeah. If you haven't read Gotham Central, you should definitely check it out because it's an amazing thing where like Batman is old and Batman is doing his stuff, but it's all about all the police people in Gotham like doing their own different thing as well. And it's like there's amazing bits where like they hate Batman.
Well, I love it because if you're a policeman, this is guy turning up every night, upstaging you. And what I love about Gotham Central is like if we don't catch this guy during the day, like we're not going to get him. Yeah. Batman will get him for us.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's like early on in Gotham Central when there's like a police murder. And like if you watch The Wire or anything like that, like once a policeman is killed or police person is killed, like all of the police like sort of move around it. Like they do it really well in Gone Baby Gone where like all the police are around the like all the hospital and waiting for stuff like that. But like then they're like, we have to catch this guy because we want to be the one who catches like cop killer, and then
because that's our
thing, yeah. And then like, but Batman sort of swings in. He just like doesn't care. He just wants to solve. You know, he just wants to like fight crime.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It's interesting. He said, obviously, he said "Gone Baby Gone" for a reason. Yeah, but the Batfleck.
Exactly.
So hopefully, obviously he knows that genre. Like he's not directed that many films, and a couple of them have been more that kind of procedural cop kind of thriller.
Well, if you look at Gone Baby Gone, this is a really interesting thing. If you look at Gone Baby Gone, the way that like Casey Affleck's character operates sort of outside of the law, and the way that he interacts with like actual police is so much fun, and like they have a lot of fun with it.
Imagine if Casey Affleck was Robin.
That'd be amazing.
Anyway. Yes.
Yours.
Ultimately, yes.
Yeah.
More Detective Batman. So, Simon Hamilton written in, "Hi guys, I just seen the latest comments by Hugh Jackman, who he thinks should be the next Wolverine, and holy S3 asterisks, yes, it should be Tom Hardy. He did a great job with Bane and would be the ideal replacement for Hugh when he hangs up the claws."
I completely disagree with that.
Really? I feel like a lot of people have been well up for that.
No, I don't see
Why?
it.
Tell me why.
I just don't see it.
Why? I like Tom Hardy.
I love Tom Hardy.
So why not?
He's like a hulking, like giant of a man. Like the thing about Wolverine that I like is like almost like
he's not that tall though.
He's not tall, but that's fine. But the thing I like about Wolverine is like he's almost like a bit of a loser. Like I know obviously Hugh Jackman doesn't look like a loser, but like
I would love to live in that world where
Hugh Jackman's a loser. I just don't see it. I
can see it. Because he is, I do think people think he's quite a prickly guy. Like he can be very sweet and elegant, but like there's a prickliness to him where I feel like, I think he's good for Wolverine, I think he's got a lot of simmering rage. And maybe that's because of the roles he's chosen and the kind of the press that surrounds him. But like, I feel like he could just go off at any time.
Yeah. I don't know who I would have, but yeah, for me, I don't see it.
Also, I really don't envy the guy who has to take over. Like, you're following a guy, by the time it'll be 7 or 8 movies.
Yeah.
A guy that everyone kind of universally adores.
Yeah. Even, like, I can't stand any of the Wolverine, like, when he's not in the X-Men movies, I can't stand those those Wolverine films. But I still like him.
There's a lot of goodwill towards him.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That's going to be really tough for everyone who does that. But I don't mind Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
I just feel like Tom Hardy in general. So
yeah, so do I. That's fine.
It's okay. Different views.
Final bit of feedback then from Adam Brunt, who asks, "Hey Dan and Gav, love the show. Wish it was on more often. Or wish that one with the beard was on there more often." Lovely thing of you to say, Adam. Thank you very much.
Chris does have a beard sometimes.
With the MCU spanning over 12 films so far and 3 TV shows, soon to be 4, what is your favourite scene in the whole of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Mine is the Winter Soldier and the end fight. So many mixed emotions. What a question. So hard.
So many good scenes as well.
I could give you like my more. I could give you my favorite scene in every single, because even films I don't like.
I just thought about some more.
I'm not a massive fan of like Captain America. Not a massive fan of the Thor films, but I could give you a good scene that I love in all of them.
Yeah, they've got a lot of great
Winter
moments.
Soldier. While we're talking about it, that lift scene, man.
I just rewatched that the other day. The bit where he says to everyone, before we get started, does anyone want to get out? And then when he it's amazing when he jumps out the side of the lift.
Yeah, that's really good. What's yours?
So I've got a couple.
Okay.
Cool. And when you were reading that, I just thought about the Vision and the hammer scene.
Yeah,
in Ultron. It's so good. It's such a good payoff, because like a lot of people will not know what that character signifies.
Yeah.
And they're like, can we trust this? Because the way the movie sets it up, is it an extension of Ultron?
Yeah.
And that moment where he just picks up the hammer is a payoff to that earlier scene. It's so good.
Well, that's the thing. I think the earlier scene is really good. It's probably like
it's a really good character scene.
It's a brilliant scene, but unfortunately they gave it away in like a clip that they just gave out the week before the film came out.
It's a really good character scene. Everyone's flexing. And the fact that Steve almost moves it. Anyway, so my 2 scenes are very different. So the first one is from Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. It's Captain America one. Even though I like the moment in the first Captain America movie when he jumps on the grenade.
Right.
When Tommy Lee Jones throws the grenade. And all the big soldiers that were kind of earmarked for the super soldier program run away. Steve jumps on it. It's like, that's fucking Captain America.
Yeah.
But the scene in Winter Soldier when he goes to visit Peggy when she's old.
Okay.
And she has Alzheimer's. Because I was not expecting a scene to hit me that hard in Winter Soldier. And she can't remember, and for her, time hasn't passed.
Right.
And he says to her, I wouldn't leave you waiting. I promised you a dance. And it's heartbreaking.
It's really sad,
and it's that's a really powerful scene in this big, noisy movie. And then the other one is a more action-centric scene.
Okay.
It's the hallway scene in Daredevil episode 2.
That's a great
where
scene.
He goes to rescue the kid. He's completely busted up. He's got rope tied to his hands.
Yeah.
It's an amazing action sequence.
Yeah.
He's a superhero, but he gets tired mid-fight. Yeah. And at the end, he pulls up his mask, and he says to the little kid, "Don't be afraid."
Yeah.
That's so good.
Okay, so my ones then. My first one is from something really recently, because I think it's one of the funniest scenes in the MCU. And I think it's the very first one in Ant-Man, where Michael Pena is like saying how he heard about
it's really
the
good
thing.
sequence.
It's so funny because it's just like it's directed really well, because like
it's
really tight. Like the way that it's edited, like it actually feels like his words are coming out of the person's mouth.
And the syncing's really
perfectly.
good. Yeah.
Like, and I was pissing myself laughing for about 20 minutes after that. Like, even when there was other stuff going on, I was still laughing about that scene.
It's really
like,
good.
I think that's really good. And my favorite, I'm sure a lot of people's favorites, like MCU film, is Guardians of the Galaxy. But I think the scene with Peter and his mum right at the beginning, where he doesn't say goodbye to her, and then he leaves, and then obviously she dies, and he like gets abducted, and because it means so much, and like that, it sets up that film has got like. It's the funniest one, and it's the most fun, I think. But it's got this huge heart, and I think you said it before, was like that could have been really small.
It's the end sequence where he clutches the gem.
Yeah.
And Gamora, like says to give me your hand, Peter.
Yeah.
And it cuts to his mum.
Yeah.
On her deathbed, but she's like displayed in front of this kind of cosmic scene backdrop, and I feel like, as someone who's experienced something like that, it's like that could have been so awful, and just been like, "Oh, you're really milking my emotions."
Yeah,
but they do it, and it plays. Chris Pratt starts crying.
Yeah,
he sells it, and you're just like, this is a great moment.
They play it really well, and it's just like it's done really well, I think. And it's just like I think a lot of the stuff I love about Guardians is it's all this different stuff played against a backdrop of like funnies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they sell it.
They do it really well. Yeah.
There's like too many moments. Like even when we're discussing this, like, what's your secret?
I don't know.
I'm always angry.
Yeah.
Like that's a great moment.
That's so good.
When you saw the Avengers for the first time, and they have that, when he just comes in on that little crappy motorcycle, and you're like, okay, what's he gonna do? And the fact that this is like unbelievable threat, and if you read comics, you know what the Hulk's all about.
Yeah.
The fact he takes that like giant space Hulk down with a single punch.
Yeah.
Such a great transformation, and you're like, yes, that's my Hulk moment.
We should do favorite DC moments next.
Yeah, next week.
Essentially, just watch Dark Knight.
Or Batman Begins if you've got any taste. Anyway, so thank you for the feedback. We read it all as always. But if you want to send us something, superheroShow@ign.com. Until next week, for everything Marvel, DC, all the rest, stay right here on IGN.